as Halloween night draws near on the shores of Lake Erie.
Halloween was her favorite. She says, "Mom, I'm leaving," and she gave me a kiss, and I said, "Well, I love you, I'll see you tonight." And that was the last time I seen her.
A community is torn apart by the search for a missing girl.
Will you put this on your truck? You go everywhere.
Sure will.
Thank you.
All I wanted to do was scream.
And when a body turns up,
A crime like this, I don't think, can be equaled.
the hunt for a killer is on.
The community, I think, was shocked and outraged.
Before they strike again.
Makes you realize that there's no safe place anymore.
Oil City, Pennsylvania, just inland from Lake Erie. It's a close-knit working-class town on the banks of the Allegheny River.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, if you ride down the 4 lanes going between Franklin and Oil City, you got the river on your right side there.
Oil City was a place that you could let your kids play outside until the street light came on. And they knew the street light come on, it's time to get your butt home.
And at the heart of the community is 11-year-old Shauna Howe.
My first husband wanted to name her Meliscus, Franciscus, something Howe. It's like, you're not sticking my child with that name. He says, well, then what are you going to name it? And I thought, and I'm like, if it's a boy, it's Sean, and if it's a girl, it's Shauna.
And as Shauna grows up, she becomes proud big sister to Jennifer, who idolizes her older sibling.
Shauna was a couple years older than I was. She was tall, skinny, very pretty. She's my angel. She's everybody's angel.
Following their mom and dad's divorce, Shauna and her siblings split their time between their parents. Their dad lives nearby and enjoys a close relationship with his kids. As the years pass, a special bond develops between Shauna and her 2 uncles.
She was just this amazing, cute little kid. I mean, she had a lot of friends. You know, she was very outgoing.
Shauna loved Halloween. She thought that was she loved to dress up, and do things like that. And Halloween, I think, was her favorite, except for Christmas, of course, because Christmas she got presents.
4 days before Halloween, Shauna and her fellow Girl Scouts have a special activity planned.
The Halloween party that they were having was up at the nursing home on Hassan Heights. And they went in and they entertained the elderly. Girl Scouts was kind of trying to promote a thing where each Girl Scout adopted a grandparent and spent time with them and things like that.
And this year, Shauna's put together her own costume.
Oh, honey, look at you, Spencer Spin.
Shauna came in, dancing, and she says, "Look, Mom, I'm a gymnast." Shauna went in and made her own costume. So she went in and she got the leotard outfit and a pair of shorts.
How did you do the shorts?
And I said, that works perfect.
Honey.
I mean, she looked cute, actually.
At 4:30, Shauna is ready to walk the half-mile to her friend's house, where she'll catch a ride to the nursing home.
She says, "Mom, I'm leaving," and she gave me a kiss, and I said, "Well, I love you, I'll see you tonight." And out the door she went. And that was the last time I seen her.
At 6 p.m., Lucy heads out to her job at the local pizza parlor. But just 2 hours into her shift, she gets a disturbing phone call.
Hello?
My boyfriend, John, who at the time was living with us, he called me because Shauna wasn't home, and it was like 8:30, 8:45. And he's like, hey, where's Shauna at? And I said, well, she had a Girl Scout thing she was supposed to go to tonight. And I said, but she should be home by now.
Usually, Shauna is picked up by her friend Jennifer's mother after Girl Scout activities.
I said, call Jen. And just as I said that, that's when I remembered that Jen was in Hawaii.
Oh, God. She wasn't there to pick up Shauna.
Their whole family, her grandfather had sold his business, and he took everybody in the family to Hawaii. So I forgot that Linda wasn't going to be there to pick Shauna and Jennifer up because Jennifer wasn't going to be there. I called my boss and I said, look, there's something wrong. I need to go home, and I need to go home now.
By the time Lucy gets home from work, it's nearly 10 p.m. and there's still no sign of Shauna.
Shauna! Shauna!
I walked around the block, went up down the streets a couple times.
Shauna!
I walked up and down First Street, went down a couple side streets, calling, and that's when I called the cops.
And when the police arrive, they already seem aware of the unfolding situation.
Just up the street from where I was at, there was somebody that had called and said they'd seen a little girl being kidnapped. They thought they heard a little girl scream. When they said there was a possible kidnapping, I hadn't heard of that in Old City. I mean, it just didn't happen.
The eyewitness, 28-year-old Dan Payton, has been in police custody since the incident. At approximately 8 p.m., 30 minutes after the end of the event at the nursing home, Payton sees a young girl matching the description given by Lucy.
He saw Shauna on the opposite side of the road, ahead of him, walking towards him. He saw her enough that he could describe what she was wearing, shorts and shoes and a t-shirt, in which he kind of said it was a little bit chillier out, so that struck a chord with him and made him remember. Also, what he saw was a gentleman, but he was able to describe that gentleman. And he said that it was a taller, thinner man. He was wearing a ball cap, he had glasses, and he sees that gentleman walking basically towards Shauna. Mr. Payton says that he sort of turns his attention away and he thinks he hears what is a short scream. He also heard like a car pull away and go into gear. And all of a sudden, everybody that he had just seen, the walker and the little girl, Shauna, were now gone.
Dan Payton also described seeing a red car parked nearby that was gone moments after the abduction.
Obviously, Mr. Payton needs to be investigated fully.
Payton is free to go home, but since he was the only person known to come into contact with Shauna that evening, he remains a person of interest. Detective O'Toole revisits the site of the potential abduction.
That is about where Mr. Payton was walking, and Shauna would have been about right here. So see, they would have seen each other, and right here is where the abduction took place. The house right beside the brick house here is where is all the farther she had to make it. It was 2 small blocks is all she needed to go.
With the threat of Shauna being kidnapped, Lucy wants to continue searching for her daughter, but police tell her to stay home.
They said I had to stay at the house in case somebody called. And I'm like, well, who's going to call? And they said, well, what if it's a kidnapping and they want ransom? I said, you got to be kidding. I live from paycheck to paycheck. Everybody knows that in Old City. And that's when I called my brother Keith and my brother Claire.
It's Shauna. She's missing? Nobody's seen her.
Lucy's brothers, Keith and Claire, immediately start searching for their missing niece.
October 27th, we just started looking anywhere and everywhere we could think of. Like trying to backtrack everything where she would have went or where she would have been.
Soon the brothers have rounded up a group who spread out around the town in search of the missing 11-year-old. They continue until sunrise, but there's no sign of Shauna.
We didn't quit until basically everybody was exhausted and point and had to just go back to the house and regroup and figure out what we were going to do next.
The next morning, Lucy heads out into the community in an effort to raise awareness of Shauna's disappearance.
That's right. Will you put this on your truck? You go everywhere.
Sure will.
Thank you.
I mean, we all knew there was something wrong. I mean, there's no way that Shauna would have been out all night without contacting somebody or letting somebody know where she was at or why she hadn't come home.
Shauna's father comes to join the search efforts and is quickly ruled out as a suspect.
I just hope somebody out there is listening and knows something.
There's people out searching, but I just felt so like caged in. I couldn't do anything. I was constantly walking. I was constantly, I didn't know what to do with myself.
He's sending flyers out to him. His wife Judy's got a brother in Florida. They're sending flyers to him. They're all getting flyers made up and spreading them out. I mean, these flyers are going everywhere.
Everybody coming from all over to support and help and try as best we could to make sure we got her and got her home safe. I mean, it was amazing, but it was also terrifying all at the same time because we shouldn't have to be doing this to begin with. And I mean, this is kind of an old cliche in a way because you're like, oh, it'll never happen to me. Well, you can't say that because you never know.
As the sun sets on day 2 of the search, Shauna is no closer to coming home.
On October 29th, a gentleman who was from the area thought that he would assist in the searching. It was an old abandoned train track, so that's what drew some people to go up there and look. And that's where they found her bodysuit.
Year-old Shauna Howe has been missing for 36 hours, and a search party has just made an ominous discovery. The blue bodysuit she was wearing the night she went missing.
They brought it back to me in an evidence bag, and they asked me if that was Shauna's, and I'm like, yes, it is. And I'm like, either you take me out there or I'm taking myself out there.
As the family arrive at the location, the chilling truth of what's happened to Shauna hits home.
It was quite apparent that it was her that was abducted by that time. If we hadn't already decided that, we definitely knew it then.
Now sure that they are dealing with a kidnapping, Oil City Chief of Police Fred Weaver takes control of the investigation.
At the time the uniform was found, we discovered that there was some semen on it, and obviously that became important right away.
Oil City doesn't have the facilities to test for DNA, so the bodysuit is sent to Erie Police Headquarters for further examination. The day after Shauna's bodysuit is found, local man David Love arrives on the scene, eager to assist.
He knew from watching the news and hearing talk around town that they had been searching that area up there, and he decided he was going to go up on his own and help. He was coming from a different angle or a different location than everybody else who came down from the Rockland Road. He came down, and when he saw this railroad bridge, he wanted to test it out and look at it to see whether it was safe to come across. And he simply kind of walked out here, and when he was looking down, that's when he discovered Shauna.
A couple officers came over and asked my brother and myself if we were willing to identify and see if it was Shauna. And Keith went first. And just from his reaction, and I already knew it was her. Even before I looked over the bridge myself, I knew. And then my brother and I walked back off that bridge and stood there and just hugged each other and cried until and then we got back in the car and was trying to figure out how we was gonna go home and tell our sister that her little girl was gone.
Because of Shauna's age and the shocking nature of her death, the FBI are called in.
There's all these people out in my front yard. I mean, there's just tons of them. I can't even tell you how many were there. And the female FBI agent come up the steps and she says, "We found a body." No. The next thing I know, Keith and Claire come in. And Keith literally falls in my lap, crying, saying, "It's her, sis. It's Shauna." And I said, "No, it can't be. She's out there somewhere. We gotta find her." And Claire grabbed my arm, and he's like, "No, sis. It's Shauna. It's her."
Back at the crime scene, detectives immediately begin looking for clues.
She was lying. Her one arm was extended. Her other arm was on her body. She had various little injuries, but none you could simply look at and say that that was the death-causing injury. Also, a hair was found on her clothing that was tested.
The trestle itself is old and wooden, and it had no safety rails or anything on it, so it would be easy to go right off the rail into the creek. And I'm going to say the fall would probably be 50 feet, somewhere in that area. It would cause severe injury at the least, and death in Shauna's case.
What's striking for police is that Shauna's body was found just 200 yards from where her bodysuit had been found the previous day.
It seemed odd that we found Shauna's body when we did, because we had so thoroughly searched that area like the day before. And it was absolutely not there the day before, because I'm positive we would have found it.
Police believe that Shauna's killer has visited the crime scene within the past 24 hours and could even be lurking amongst the search party.
When something like this happens, you always check the crowd, because a lot of times the perpetrator will come back to the scene, or we've actually had individuals that were involved in the kidnapping and the murder of young children help with the search party.
Investigators immediately zero in on the man who found Shauna's body, David Love, who lives in Tionesta, over 20 miles from where the body was discovered. Police obtain a blood sample and search his car. Following Shauna's abduction and subsequent killing, city officials ban the children of Oil City from trick-or-treating on future Halloweens.
The community, I think, was somewhat shocked and outraged that could happen in a small town like Oil City, and Halloween was basically canceled.
Two days into the hunt for her killer, results from Shauna's autopsy are in.
She had damage to her vaginal area that would have been consistent with being sexually assaulted. And she also had semen discovered from a swabbing. The DNA that was taken from Shauna and the DNA that was taken from the bodysuit were the same, that it came from one person.
With Dan Payton, the last known person to have seen Shauna alive,
start again, from the beginning.
Detectives increase the pressure on the suspect.
I know on one time with the FBI, it appeared that they gave him a very harsh interview.
I think you know more.
And maybe they felt some things needed to be explained a little better, or they had maybe it was a gut feeling, or just they knew that they had to do this. But all in all, it came out that he was not involved in any way, shape, or form.
Lab results show that the DNA on Shauna's bodysuit isn't a match for either the witness, Dan Payton, or David Love, the man who discovered her body. Without a database to compare the sample, investigators next collect the DNA of family, friends, and members of the community in an effort to eliminate them as suspects. Meanwhile, Dan Payton's initial description of a tall, thin man wearing a baseball cap and driving a red car puts a local community figure on the police's radar.
All right, here's your pizza. Now you have everything you need, yeah?
Ted Walker worked at a pizza shop in Oil City, and when young kids, young boys or girls would have contact with Ted Walker, kind of want to give them a hug, or he was very talkative to them and showed them lots of attention.
Ted was sort of a creepy guy. He was known to a lot of the neighbors as weird. He was a tall, skinny guy with a beard and glasses and drove a red car, so he met all the criteria for the abductor.
The body of 11-year-old Girl Scout Shauna Howe has been discovered after a 2-day search led by her family and members of the community. And a description from a key eyewitness has led investigators to a compelling suspect. 33-year-old pizza shop employee Ted Walker.
He was questioned, and one of the things was, on a simple note, he fit the description as well as you can fit the description. He was a tall, slim man, dark hair, glasses, always wore a ball cap. And Ted Walker had a 4-door vehicle with a red tint in color that was similar and consistent with the one that was witnessed by Dan Payton.
Police immediately interview Walker and take his DNA.
He had no problem giving his DNA. I just think that he knew that whatever occurred to her was not him.
Detective O'Toole's hunch turns out to be accurate. Ted Walker's DNA is not a match. In the days following Shauna's savage murder, the community of Oil City comes together to mourn.
The candlelight vigil was held Halloween night, with mourners retracing Shauna's steps.
It brought the horrors sometimes of an urban community, to our small town here, and makes you realize that there's no safe place anymore.
3 days after the vigil, Lucy and her family say goodbye to Shauna.
It was hard, very hard, especially for my sister to say goodbye to her 11-year-old daughter that should still be sitting right beside her.
I remember going to the funeral home, and I asked him, I said, is it going to be an open casket? And he said, if it is, I've got to put a veil over the body. I told him, I said, lift the veil. I said, if I can't touch her, at least let me see her. And he did lift the veil, and I did get to see her. But it wasn't Shauna.
With all potential suspects ruled out and DNA evidence leading to a dead end, the case soon comes to a standstill.
The Shauna Howe abduction and murder seemed like it took forever. It was devastating to the community, and I think they were rather impatient with us in regard to the fact that we hadn't solved it quicker.
As weeks turn into months and then years, each October becomes a tragic reminder for Shauna's family.
I don't like Halloween at all. That's when everybody would start talking about it. I think it should be brought up all the time. But it seems like only time anybody wants to talk about Shauna is October.
Then in 1995, 3 years after Shauna's body was found, the Oil City Police Department dedicates new resources to the cold case. Lead investigator Detective Graham comes to meet Lucy.
He basically told me, he says, I'm going to solve it. He says, I'm not going to solve it tomorrow, I guarantee you that. But I'm going to solve it.
The new cold case team re-examines Dan Payton's eyewitness testimony, and one small previously unnoticed detail suddenly jumps out at them.
Mr. Payton saw Shauna, and then he hears the scream. And then that vehicle was pulling away seconds after that. It happened so quick, it could not have been one person. I think the theory on multiple assailants came to play shortly after that.
Police race to search Oil City records for any assaults involving multiple assailants in the lead-up to Shauna's abduction. And quickly, they come across the O'Brien brothers.
They were called Timmy and Jimmy. I'd started with the police department in September of 1971, and I can recall dealing with them as young individuals. I'm going to say they were probably in their early teens when I first had dealings with them. They were known individuals to cause problems in their neighborhood.
After Shauna's murder, the pair's criminality snowballs. 3 years later, in 1995, the brothers attempt to kidnap a 22-year-old woman.
They attempted to kidnap her and put her in the trunk of the car. But she got away. Because of the similarity between the attempted abduction of the girl leaving the bar and the abduction of Shauna, the O'Briens were suspects.
Brothers Tim and Jim O'Brien are chief suspects in the 1992 abduction and killing of Shauna Howe in a suburb just miles south of Lake Erie. But the new investigative team discovered that the O'Brien brothers had already been cleared as suspects back in 1992, along with a host of other known criminals.
Tim O'Brien and Jimmy O'Brien were in jail at the time of the abduction. So therefore, they weren't looked at as liable suspects.
The longer Lucy waits for closure, the more painful Oil City becomes to her.
After 6 years of being here in Pennsylvania, I couldn't take it anymore. We got a chance to get out of here, and I took it. I left. Because I couldn't keep looking over my shoulders all the time, looking for whoever did this. So I just packed up everything. We got rid of the house. We moved down to North Carolina, and we stayed down there.
She couldn't deal with it no more. She couldn't live in Oil City and feel safe, not having any idea who had done this to her daughter.
In the intervening years, Detective Graham moves on, and not willing to let the case go cold again, Detective O'Toole picks up the investigation.
I would read reports and evidence photographs, looking to see if there was anything odd.
And buried in the paperwork covering the O'Brien brothers' 1992 arrest, he makes a stunning discovery.
I go back to the report, and this thing about them being in jail is totally false. I believe that they had been arrested for a crime, and they had been put in jail, but they both made bond or were released from the jail. On that date, October 27th of 1992, they were free to go wherever they could go.
How could police have overlooked this crucial detail?
Somebody could have looked at it and says, yes, Tim O'Brien was in jail, but there might be then the next line says, well, he's out on bail, which, maybe at first the right person didn't look far enough or know far enough that, yes, they had charges put against them, but they made bail, they were on house arrest or whatever, but they were not incarcerated.
With the O'Brien brothers free and cruising the streets of Oil City on the night Shauna was abducted, it's now possible that Jim and Tim may be responsible for her murder. Their DNA is tested against the profile found on Shauna's bodysuit.
Jim's test comes back as a positive as the match.
Tim O'Brien's DNA also matches a hair fiber found on Shauna's clothing. With this breakthrough, Brian O'Toole is keen to make an arrest, but he doesn't have to. The pair have been in prison for the past 8 years.
They were both in jail at that point. Tim was in jail waiting for a case to take place in which he was accused of sexually assaulting some children. Jim was in jail on a case in which he was tried and found guilty of attempting to kidnap a girl. He had been sentenced to serve between 10 and 20 years, I believe is what it was.
But police still need to find the tall, thin man in the baseball cap seen helping the O'Brien brothers abduct Shauna that evening.
Jim O'Brien, we're looking at where he lived, who he was friends with, who he went to high school with, all those things. Jim and Tim O'Brien both stayed with a flop house or whatever you want to call it. It was Ted Walker's house.
Ted Walker, the pizza shop employee who had previously been investigated.
The O'Briens would go to Walker's house.
The boys need anything? You got your beer?
We're all good.
Ted really didn't have any rules, but yet he had a house. It was basically a clean house that they could stay in, and they wanted to drink beer or bring somebody there, a friend or a girlfriend in there. Ted wasn't going to kick them out. and it was in a remote area. You could carry somebody into Ted's house, and you didn't have to worry about the neighbors seeing you carrying a young girl into the house. No, they didn't fit the description of the abductor. But Ted Walker did.
After almost 10 years, police finally have 3 prime suspects in the abduction and killing of 11-year-old Shauna Howe. With Jim and Tim O'Brien already behind bars for other crimes, investigators arrest their 3rd suspect, pizza shop employee Ted Walker. And confronted by the evidence of him matching the eyewitness description and being known to associate with the O'Brien brothers, it's not long before Ted begins to crack.
He sort of wanted to get something off his chest or wanted to come totally clean.
You know, I was an unwilling part of it.
Right.
They weren't supposed to go that far.
Right.
It's only supposed to be a joke.
Right. Okay.
Ted tells the detectives he was riding around with the O'Brien brothers that night.
Okay.
Just out on bail, they told him they wanted to play a prank on the local police department.
We're going to take this back to 1992. We know that a witness saw somebody walk up to Shauna Howe. Isn't that right?
Right.
And who was that person the witness saw?
Me.
Right. So you walk up to her, and as you're approaching her, you ask her what?
Are you selling Girl Scout cookies?
She was selling Girl Scout cookies.
Okay. And why do you ask her that?
Because I like working Girl Scouts.
Right, I know that, but
just to make her feel at ease.
Make her feel at ease? Then what do you do?
Well, I grab a hold of her and take her back.
Did you grab her?
How did around the shoulder?
Ted then confesses that they take Shauna back to his house.
You get back to your house. What's the next thing that happens?
They come in carrying Shauna going up the steps. Once they got upstairs, I heard her screaming, struggling. Leave me go, get off me.
A day later, and with the search for Shauna underway in Oil City, the O'Briens drive Shauna out to Coulter's Hole, 7 miles south of the town.
So whether the perpetrators, the O'Briens and possibly Walker, were carrying her out here, or whether she was fleeing, her fall was caused by her kidnapping, and it was caused by the actions taken against her with a sexual assault. There's no sense to it, period, the end. There is nothing to even give it any sort of credence what happened. A crime like this, I don't think, can be equaled. I can't think of a worse way to go and a worse time for her to go. But that's exactly what happened here, and that's what the O'Briens caused to happen, her death.
Following his confession, Ted speaks directly to Shauna's mother.
To Lucy, I'm sorry. It was just supposed to be a joke. 15, 20 minutes at all. Not what's supposed to happen. It was not planned this way. What the O'Briens did, I'm sorry about that. I hope you can forgive me. And I'm sorry it took me so long, but they had threatened to kill my son, who I love dearly.
And he should have known what he was doing isn't going to be a joke. And you don't grab a girl off the corner of the street for a joke.
Studios of WSEE. This is Newswatch at 6 with Pat Van Zandt and Scott Bremner.
Well, after 13 years, the trial of 2 brothers accused of abducting, raping, and murdering Shauna Howe finally gets underway today.
In September 2006, Ted Walker, Timothy O'Brien, and James O'Brien are put on trial for first and second degree murder, rape, kidnapping, and involuntary deviant sexual intercourse. In the courtroom, Shauna's family finally come face to face with her killers.
They had no sympathy. The O'Briens sat there and laughed, talked to their sign language to their family. It was like It didn't bother them that they hurt a little girl. To me, it was sick. It made me angry for any man or woman or anything to be able to hurt a child. It's wrong.
The judge sets a rare precedent by bringing the jury to the site of Shauna's murder.
They brought everybody involved, all the defense team, the jurors, and even the defendants. Both O'Briens came out here. They sort of had it set up that a juror could kind of stand up here and look on out, and they had orange cones in the water to show where she was at the time. The judge wanted the juror to see the area and thought that the jurors need to see more than just pictures of this area and of where she met her death. I've never had anything like that before.
After a 2-week trial, the jury returns with their verdicts. The O'Brien brothers are found guilty on all charges. They receive life sentences. Ted Walker pleads guilty to third-degree murder and kidnapping and receives 20 to 40 years.
They took a little girl's life. They've lived the last 13 years doing what they wanted to do. I mean, my daughter will be 24 this year. What has she had? Nothing. What have they had? They've kept hurting people.
Where we're walking to right now is the stone that was put in memory of Shauna. It's got Shauna Melinda Howe was taken away on October 27th, 1992. This is where she was taken. I still have a lot of guilt because I blame myself for all of this. You kind of forget the guilt if you don't look at it. Where I used to live, if you look down there, you can see a white house with the pillars on it. She could see home, you know, and they had to grab her like that, you know. I don't know why. I don't understand.